Tony Touch, charter member, the 10th of October 7:16 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. CH trip report the 3rd of October daytime, the PL rises. So I get this fucked up text the other day from a stripper I had been seeing for a year or so OTC. She sent me a mouth-watering picture of her ass along with a message that said, "Miss you, let's hook up. I'm down." I texted back. She replied $2,000. I literally flipped my phone around 4 times to make sure I was reading the text right. For the past year and a half we'd had a pretty good PL stripper relationship, $300 a session. Sessions basically started with us hanging out at her club or a bar and ended with us engaging in a bunch of RB acronyms. Now, out of nowhere, she wanted to almost septuple the price. Who does that? I won't bore you with all the texts that followed, but basically she proudly declared that the price had gone up. It turns out another PL had given her the worst STD possible. Yep, that one. GPS, Golden Pussy Syndrome. With his cash, his shopping trips, and weekends in Vegas, dude totally fucked up the rotation. I let her know $2,000 wasn't going to happen, and said I had the usual for her. She texted, "That's fine, we can have drinks and possibly I could squeeze her ass." I didn't respond. I just shook my head, chuckled, and said out loud, "I need to get me a new stripper." 45 miles later, I was at the Crazy Horse. $80, $55, $66, $25, respectively. That's what I spent at the CH on my last 4 visits. CH had lost its appeal. It had become a place of habit and convenience, like the Starbucks a couple of blocks from my house. But still, when the guy at the parking lot on Taylor asked me how long I'd be staying, I said 2 hours. I stuttered when I said it, knowing that I hadn't stayed at the CH for 2 hours in nearly 3 years. Early afternoon. Sidewalk was crowded. I had to turn sideways to avoid colliding into a young girl unfolding and counting her bulging wad of crumpled 5s, 10s and 20s. I barely missed her but bumped into her dreadlocked friend who was spreading the greenest buds I'd ever seen into his blunt. In years past, I had a hard time entering a strip club during the day. It felt dirty. So I'd do silly things like pretend to tie my shoes a few feet from the entrance, survey my surroundings, then mid-crouch pose for the door. Or even better, I'd walk straight ahead into the crowd in front of me, and then drift towards the strip club entrance sideways, as if I had been swept in by the wind. On Wednesday, I just busted in. Fuck it. I'll probably end up in one of Stutterman Ben's YouTubes. I hope he gets my good side. The desk guy greeted me warmly as I entered. The enthusiasm was overwhelming. If I didn't know better, I would have thought I was their first customer ever. Only 7 dancers on the board, but the glow of Jesse's name obscured them all. Before entering the actual club, I went to the new to me, bathroom. I didn't really have to go but knew I needed to get my shit straight. I organized my money, 1s and 5s in the front left pocket, 20s in the back right. Took a deep breath and was ready to leave until another PL entered. We had a quick 2-minute conversation. Then the desk guy bulldozed through the door. Maybe he had to take a monster shit. His glare followed at me as I squeezed by him and exited the bathroom. I sat stage side as Shalette was announced. Shalette is definitely not your prototypical stripper, not in appearance nor personality. I'm sure her hotness puts many people off, but for some reason it fascinated me. Her stage show was more stop, stare, and pose, rather than a continuous rhythmic dance. Eventually, Shalette stopped, stared, and posed right in front of me. Her smile is bizarre. The corners of her mouth drew open slowly, like curtains before a play. Once her grin was fixed, it sat there steady, no matter what she did, as if she were wearing a mask. If someone on the street looked at me that way, I'd probably run into incoming traffic to avoid them. But in the bizarro world of the strip club, I stared right back at her while sliding ones under her feet. Jessie was the next dancer. I saw her walking towards the back but didn't really get a good view of her. From a distance she appeared to be the same, however I wasn't sure how she'd look close up. Time takes its toll on everyone, right? Sigh. I lowered my expectations and checked out the room while waiting for what I was sure to be a weathered, crow-footed, jowly Jessie to emerge. There were about 10 other PLs scattered across the club, about half stage side and the other half sprinkled throughout the theatre. I happened to see the moment when one PL first saw Ecstasy's fantastic ass. He followed it with his eyes until she disappeared to the back. She came back out moments later and he immediately waved her over. As they left for the lap dance room, some fucker wearing big, dark sunglasses stumbled past them toward the stage. He looked like Ray Charles as he extended his arms out and felt his way through the darkness. Somehow, he made it to the stage but nearly sat on another PL's lap while he is taking his seat. The DJ announced Jesse's name and in a bit of a schizophrenic moment he started and stopped playing 4 or 5 different songs within a 10-second period before settling on the right one. Jessie finally appeared on stage. I sat up straight and said to myself, what in the Benjamin Button? She actually looked better than I remembered. I think last time I saw Jessie her hair was blonde or had blonde highlights. This time it was a more natural rich, dark brown. Her eyes were bright and her smile was brilliant. She rolled her hot body across the stage and eventually came to a stop in front of me. She dangled her legs over the railing, lowered her white top and guided my hands over her body. Oh man, Jessie is the reason God created dollar bills. By the time her final song started, the wad of ones in my front left pocket had nearly disappeared. Before she left the stage, Jessie stopped in front of me, cocked her head and in a soft voice I call a sexy squeak asked if I had been there before. I nodded. I saw a flicker of recognition behind those bright eyes. Then curiously she asked if we had spent time together before. I nodded again, this time barely able to contain my smile. I told her how many years it had been and this time she was the one who nodded her head as she said, I knew you looked familiar. To be honest, I don't know if she truly recognized me or not. I wasn't expecting her to, but it was a nice way to reintroduce ourselves. Next up on stage was Catalina. I had never seen her before and really wasn't interested in checking out her stage show. She looked okay but didn't really give off that much of a sexy vibe, and besides she seemed to have a boxy middle. Before I could get out of my seat she was already on stage. I said what the hell, slapped down a courtesy tip and started playing with my iPhone. As the second song began, I started to get up. Catalina was at the top of the stage, turned around and revealed some huge ass natural titties. I think I heard someone behind me make a baby sucking a nipple noise. When those breasts popped out, I popped back into my seat. Catalina's show had really good audience participation. She happily jumped in and out of PL's laps while giving them much more than a handful of boobs to manage. But overall, I found her movements raw and maybe even a bit inelegant. I didn't really see any sexiness until her last song played. It was a Latin song, The Peruvian Princess, a stamp she wears on her right shoulder. Slowed down quite a bit and each step seemed more confident and showed more sex appeal than the one before it. Finally completely at ease and almost unaware, she mouthed the words to song playing. There might be something here. Okay. The table was set and I was ready to eat. I left the stage and once again headed to the bathroom. Took a piss, washed my hands, then organized my remaining money. During this time, a PL came in, and we started talking about this and that. After a few minutes, the door guy came busting in again and asked what was going on. You guys just having a conversation or something, I said. Yeah. He nodded skeptically, then bent down to look underneath the stall in the back. I then realized the previous time the door guy entered the bathroom was for the same reason. What the fuck? I felt really uncomfortable and seriously considered leaving. Does anyone know if it's against CH policy to talk in the bathroom? If it is, then they should post that somewhere. I took a seat in the second to last row, still a little perplexed but snapped out of it as soon as I saw Jessie leaving the back and heading my way. The stage show was just a tease. I wanted to experience the real thing. I wanted to remind her of the offer she made me that I couldn't refuse, but did. I wanted to tell her, no. She got cut off by some elderly PL. It took him nearly 10 minutes just to stand up. No way would they be done anytime soon. Damn that damn mango ice cream. Hey, that's how it goes. One day, I might be that old guy. While I watched as Jessie gingerly guided her latest customer up the aisle, I noticed a face in the crowd fixed in my direction. It was like a garden statue had been placed just a few feet away from me. Shalette had reappeared and just stood frozen in front of the stage, baiting me with her psycho ex-girlfriend-like stare, waiting for our eyes to lock. Before I could break my gaze, she was on me. What would like from me, she whispered. A restraining order would have been my response on Market Street, but in the fantasy-filled strip club world where anything goes, I'd rarely said anything, and before I knew it, I was handing her a token. The lap dance was perfection. There were few words between us. None needed, really. She spoke to me in pussy. We moved quickly to the PS. Shalette is a professional, not necessarily in a cold or business-like way, but more in the she just knows her way around a lap way. It took a minute to find her groove, but once she did, it felt like sex. Shalette has amazing body control. I'm sure she does yoga or Pilates or something. Instead of fumbling my dick awkwardly with her hands, she skillfully moved everything into place with her body. Whether it was using one arm or two to prop herself up, or going barefoot to get the proper leverage, Shalette seemed to always be in the right position. Her moves were precise but still fluid. It felt like she was writing on me in cursive, using her pussy as the pen. My favorite letter was the lowercase I. She'd slowly move up and down my dick, and barely after getting off, would come back down and lightly bounce on the top, dotting the I. I would bet good money that she's made more than a couple of PLs come in their pants around ankles. While I would certainly repeat, I didn't fall in strip club lust. There were a few reasons. Physically, Shalette is supremely fit, and the 8 ounces of fat she does have fills out her lady parts. However, I usually prefer girls with either a really plump ass or slap me in the face till I'm silly titties, or both. Also, even though at one point she pulled off my shirt and laid on me chest to chest, there was a lack of passion. The dance from a technique standpoint was a 10, but her eyes were closed mostly, and at times, I felt like a prop. And finally, she has a little bit of hippie body odor. It's not overpowering, but it's enough to grab your attention. They were loading up the snack machine as I was leaving the PS area. I had to dance over the boxes of water and chips and candy to get back to my seat. Apparently, Nikki left something behind and popped in to retrieve it. She didn't come alone though. She brought the energy of the nighttime shift with her. The voices were louder and the laughs heartier the few moments she was there. Years ago, she used to grab my hand and embarrass me by screaming my name the moment we saw each other. I couldn't even buy a glance from her on Wednesday. As Nikki was chatting with the DJ, I saw Catalina coming towards me, avoiding the other PLs like they were landmines. I didn't think we had that much of a connection during our mini-lap, but I was the first PL she propositioned after emerging from the back. I kinda liked that. She bent down to ask for a lap dance, and I immediately thought she looked very cute up close. I'm still not sure if it was because she really did look good, or if it was a case of a 6 looking like a 9 because her tits were a 12. Anyway, when she asked if I wanted a lap dance, I didn't hesitate. After I bought a token, she reintroduced herself. I'm Catalina. When the DJ announced her name during her stage show, it sounded flat and abrupt. When Catalina said it in her Latins, her name came alive. It sounded like it had 100 syllables in it. Before we sat down, she shared some personal information. I felt immediately at ease. I don't remember the lap dance. I just recall her expressive and attentive features as we talked about really nothing. She genuinely seemed interested or into me. Needless to say, we moved on to a private show. Catalina smiled devilishly as she held open the curtain and ushered me into the booth. She got undressed, immediately grabbed my hands and stuck them to her tits. She said she liked the way my big hands felt on her breasts. Every time my hands would drift to her sides or her back, Catalina would pull them right back to her tits. I soon became mesmerized. Slap me in the face, slap me in the face, slap me in the face till I'm silly, I commanded quietly. She read my mind and buried my face in her pillowy boobs. I didn't care if I was going to get kicked, punched or whatever. I had to taste them. Catalina hadn't explicitly given me the green light yet, but I couldn't wait. I went in and started to kiss, then lick those melons. She seemed pretty receptive. After a few moments, Catalina took hold of her titties and starting licking one of her own nipples. I'm not done, I thought to myself and grabbed it back. I started licking while she was still on it. We were like two kids fighting over a snow cone. Our two tongues touched, and while not quite a Lady and the Tramp spaghetti moment, we both had a nice chuckle. The grind during the PS was standard but very deep. Catalina was this weird move. She pile drives, head down, on your lap, then shakes her head a million miles per hour from side to side. Literally, she's giving you head. Weird but surprisingly enjoyable. At one point she straddled a seat and shook her pussy inches from the tip of my lips. I hadn't noticed before, but Catalina's pussy looked to be flawless. Lips, sound, shape, size, smell, all perfect. She could be a pussy model. After it bounced around my face for a few moments, I asked what would Roland do, and I did. A few minutes had passed and Catalina got back to grinding. Abruptly she let out some orgasmic screams and leapt off my lap. There weren't many moans previously, fake or otherwise, so they seemed out of place. Her enthusiasm waned shortly thereafter, but I was good. I wasn't looking at my watch, but I'd say we went slightly over the average PS time in that cramped space. Even though the ending was a little anticlimactic, I would definitely repeat. Her grind, her moves were not refined, but overall the experience was fun and felt very natural and real. I returned to the theater area to half catch my breath and half hoping Jessie would be sitting there waiting for me. Jessie was on stage, but after two satisfying PS in a relatively short period of time, I couldn't manage to make it past the third row and just sat down. A dancer was seated just in front of me. I had seen her earlier but didn't notice how cute she looked until the light from the cell phone she held in her hands illuminated her face. Before I knew it, she was crouched by my side, prodding me for a dance. She introduced herself Kendra. She reminded me of a younger, bubblier Sky, cute, blonde and plump in the right places. She was wearing a tight, black, net mesh bottom that squeezed her ass perfectly and a shiny nightclub type top from BB that somehow, at the same time, both hugged and exposed her breasts. Kendra's energy was intoxicating and she seemed to always have a smile or laugh after every comment. She playfully suggested we go to the PS room and pleasantly threw some generic "you're making me horny" lines at me. Tempting, and definitely a possibility in the future, but I was utterly content and wasn't going to budge. After a short stack of lap cakes with Kendra, I was out the door. You know you had a good time at a strip club when you leave with zero cash but have no regrets. I had a huge smile on my face when I got back to my car, but as I was buckling my seatbelt, I noticed the crotch of my black pants was coated with white stripper juice. It was plain as day. I didn't need a CSI-type blacklight to tell me I had been just done. I was both disgusted and strangely proud at the same time. Every time there was a stop in traffic, I would stare at it. Before I got back to the real world, I managed to erase the stain on my lap, but not the memories which caused it. I may not have found a replacement for my former stripper friend, but I certainly had fun trying.